Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm really sorry I haven't been around for a bit on this channel or made new content. Unfortunately, I had a very dear pet of mine pass away, and it's been very hard for me and my family, and it was just a very hard thing to go through, and it still is. But today in this episode, I'm going to make a video about the Nikon D700 and the live view setting. I had a comment on my D700 video where the person was asking if the camera actually had a live view setting, and the answer is yes, it does, but it has two different live view settings, and I'm going to go through each one of those and show you guys how they work and give you kind of a demonstration. That way you guys can use it accordingly in your photography and see how it works for yourself. All right, so let's get into it. Now, when you open up the manual to the live view page, you're going to see this. And this is basically just going to give you an idea of the two different live view modes that the camera has. So you have handheld mode and tripod mode. And it's just going to give you basically a very basic description on how it works and why it works. And it's not going to really go in depth, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how this works. Okay, so here's the Nikon D700 in live view mode, and to go ahead and activate live view mode, the only thing you do is turn the dial up here by hitting this little button in the front, and then you're turning the dial to the left. Okay, so then it activates live view. It gets it, so you turn live view mode on. To activate live view, you just hit the shutter button. Okay, so now we're in live view mode. All right, so the first one that we're going to be talking about, there's two of them, is handheld mode. Okay, so when we're talking about handheld mode, basically this is if you were to be holding the camera. Since I am demonstrating how this works in this video, I need two hands to go ahead and hold the camera and move buttons around and everything like that right now. I have it on a tripod, so that's fine. It will work the same way as if you were holding it. It's a little bit different when you're doing it in a live setting. But the thing about handheld mode is that it is a little different than the tripod mode. And let me go ahead and show you why. When you are in live view mode in handheld, it is using a different autofocus system. So instead of the traditional autofocus that we're used to, it's going to go ahead and close the mirror. So what it does is when you hold down the shutter just slightly, what happens is it will focus. Okay, let me actually move my focus point so I can actually do something. So okay, so that's something that this is like the new generation of live view mode back when this camera first came out. Okay, so this is like how that worked back then, and that's why there's two different modes, handheld mode and tripod mode. Okay, and basically what the handheld mode does is it uses a phase detection autofocus, and it's where it has a built-in sensor to tell the camera what to do and focus on the subject, and then open up the mirror and display those corrections. Okay, and when you're in this mode, you have different options. Okay, so first of all, let me go ahead and show you the info button, what that does. You have, of course, your grid display. I don't know if you guys can see. Let me turn my my shutter speed down a little bit so you guys can actually see what's going on here. Okay, so you have your grid display. You have your focus area. Okay, this is where all your autofocus points are. And then when you hit the info button again, you'll notice that you have a horizon line adjustment, which is really nice to have even on this old of a system. Okay, if I hit info again, it goes away and you just have your AF area right here. Okay, and of course, let me go ahead and turn this up a little more so you see the back of the camera. Now, the other thing that live view does not have is a meter adjustment, so you can't adjust your shutter speed, but there is a work around that. Either you can turn your dial to the CH mode and just hit the info button, and then you can see if you have a shutter speed that is what you need for your composition. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust my shutter speed accordingly, and then it will be fine. And then what I'm going to do is turn it back to the live view setting. Okay, and then there you go. Okay, and or the other way you can do it is just by viewing up on top of the camera in your little screen, and you can actually adjust your shutter speed that way as well. If this video has helped you out and you've learned something, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for future notifications when more content comes out. I appreciate all of you for being here and being a great part of this community. Now let's continue on to the video. Let's see, what else do I need to cover about handheld mode? The live view mode on this camera does not have a timer setting. So say you were wanting to set this up on a tripod and you wanted to use a timer setting, you would actually have to configure a custom button for that. And then what will happen is when you hit that custom button, it will come up on the timer will start working, and then you can actually use the timer function. Other than that, you would have to just use a remote, corded remote control. So those will work as well. And like I said before, you have the option of using the AF on button. The AF on button I feel is your best friend because it makes it so you don't accidentally hit the shutter and take a picture if you just want to focus. Now you do have the option, of course, of zooming in. Okay. Now in this handheld mode, you do not have the focus, the AF focus points. Okay. So that's something to consider. It will still focus, okay? But it won't focus on a certain point unless you designate it beforehand. Now you can go ahead and zoom in and then of course manual focus, okay? And you can do that accordingly if you want a certain area. Of course you can move to any part of the screen and focus on that point. Okay, so say I wanted that focused, I can go ahead and just focus it like that, and then you can bypass it like that. So these are different modes that you can use. So say if you're doing a macro photography, this will work in that way. You just won't have the autofocus setting, which you kind of don't want anyway when you're taking pictures with macro. It just depends on the subject, okay? Now let me go ahead and show you in the menu here. When you go into the menu and you want to change the live view mode, it is under the camera and then shooting menu. You're gonna hit live, you're gonna find a thing that says live view. Go ahead and go into that. And then you'll see two different things here. You have the release mode and then you also have live view mode. If you go into the release mode, you'll see that you actually have continuous low speed and continuous high speed. Now that's if you wanted to hold your camera and continuously hold the shutter down and it will just have a burst mode. It really just depends on what kind of subject you're taking pictures of, and it really just depends on the scenario. But I myself like to use a single frame because I mostly do macro and I feel that it would be most useful. And not to mention, one thing about this live view mode on the Nikon D700 is that the battery is drained very fast. So keep that in mind. Now the camera does have a sensor, so then if it's on live view mode too long, it will turn off so it doesn't overheat. So that's a good thing. So you don't have to worry about that. It comes equipped with it. But I would just use live view mode as sparingly as you can because it does affect this sensor, since the sensor is made a little bit different than the newer cameras of today, okay? Let's go back into live view mode. Now we're gonna go ahead and talk about the tripod mode. Let me go ahead and just show you the short explanation that Nikon has to offer on their system. Handheld mode is to preview your subject in the monitor. Press the subject release button fully once to view the subject in the monitor a second time to take a picture, okay? And then tripod mode has an explanation. Use when precise focus is required. So say like macro, the subject is previewed in the monitor when the shutter release button is pressed fully. Use the multi-selector to select the focus point, press the AF on button to check focus, then press the shutter release button again to shoot, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate how that is. So let's go ahead and turn it to tripod mode, and then we're gonna go ahead and hit our shutter to go ahead and activate it. So then as you can see right away, that your menu, when you hit info, is quite different. You have the grid as well. Let me go ahead and turn down my exposure so you can see that. And you have the grid. So when you hit info, you do also have the horizon line adjustment. So you can go ahead and adjust your horizon, which is nice. It just depends on your subject, of course. So tripod mode uses a different type of autofocus system. Let me go ahead and hit info so you guys can see. When you are using tripod mode, it is very similar to what we are used to today. And I feel it is the most user-friendly, especially if you're gonna be using live view mode for taking macro photos. And I feel that you have the most versatility with this. Now, if you look, when I hit the dial right here, the pad, you'll see that your focus points are absolutely unlimited, which gives you a very wide range of focusing. So the nice thing about this live view setting that I really like is that when you zoom in, you can actually adjust your autofocus accordingly, because what happens is, check this out. Now on this, I actually have to use the AF on button. If I hit the shutter release button, it actually won't work. It'll just take a picture, see? And then it will go back. That's what would be a picture. But if I want to reactivate it, I just hit the shutter again. But what I do on this is just use the AF on button, because then what's really nice about this, so if I put this on the right mode or not, hold on, there we go, is it will autofocus when you are on live view, and it does not close the mirror. So it lets the sensor do this. And this is called contrast detect autofocus. So now I really like it. So then all you have to do is hit the autofocus, and then basically you have your unlimited focal points as well. So say I wanted to focus on a very fine detail focus. I can actually, I'm always zoomed in right now to my digital zoom, but I can just hit autofocus, and because the contrast, it'll actually autofocus like that. So then, since it's focused, all I have to do is take the picture, and voila, there it is. Let me go ahead and turn down my exposure a little bit so you guys can see. There's the picture, and as you can see, it's nice. And sharp, okay? And that's just at that little focus point. So it is very handy when you are using it for macro pictures. So basically, that's the difference between the two different live view settings. One has a phase detection autofocus, and the other one has a contrast autofocus system, as a contrast detect autofocus. And I feel that both are useful for different things, but in my opinion, the tripod mode works best because that is what we're used to these days, and you have a lot more to work with because it has the extra focus points. So you can literally focus on anything in the viewfinder or on the back of the screen, and you can actually get that fine detail that you want because you are able to do a nice close focus. Okay, so I hope that helped you guys. I hope it helped you understand how the live view works on the Nikon D700. And yes, to my viewer, thank you for that question. Good question. Does indeed have live view, and it does work pretty well. All right guys, well, that's it for this video. I hope it helped you guys out to help you understand how the Nikon D700 live view feature works. And let me just add this: if you guys do have a pet, make sure you just love them and take care of them as much as you can for as long as they're around, because unfortunately they're not around long enough, and time goes by faster than you know when your little animal is there, and you know, it just you don't realize how fast it goes by. So please love them as much as possible. They're only around for so long. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. If you liked this video and found it useful, please make sure you hit that like button in the corner, and please subscribe and ring the bell for future notifications for when I do post more videos. It really helps me out a lot, and it helps my channel grow, and it helps the community grow as well, because you guys are part of this community and helping this channel become even greater. So thank you guys for that, and thank you for all the awesome comments. I really appreciate it, and I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.